everybody, to Local Biz Now. Surprise! Joe's not here today. It's Nicole Greer, and I have with me none other than the owner of Element Home Loans. I have the legendary Brad Roach. Welcome to the
Good
show.
afternoon. Pleasure to be here. That music with Joe makes me get fired up to do some business, get it done. It's
Oh,
good.
you and I are going to get it done today because guess what? We're both coaches and we're both consultants. And I think between the two of us, we might be able to lay down some serious genius today. You want to
It's
do
got to
that?
be deep, right? Here we go. Coaching mentality. All right. Deal. Deal. And I
100%.
got to correct you. I'm not the owner. I'm a worker bee at Element. I run the North Carolina division.
Oh, that's
So I
fantastic.
got a boss. In not many years I've had that, but I do now.
Okay.
It's been different. I'm a
Okay.
good employee, though. I've learned to do that.
All right. Well, we're going to stop right there. All right. Tell me, what makes a good employee? What makes somebody a good employee? Now, everybody listen up. Let's take notes. Let's check how everybody's doing out there.
How they see, how the boss sees you, right? That right through his perspective, her perspective, how they see you. You know, when something for me, it's I've been an employee a couple of times, once in a training program, and now you know the expectation, right? And if you're not, you should clarify it. But if you know it, why not deliver it a little early? Deliver it a little bit extra. That's the difference to me. It's an Excel.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. So you
Not
use,
hard to do though, right? I don't think that's hard to do. Put some thought into it. It's extra credit. It's not hard to do. It's a pain in the butt, right?
yeah.
It's not much more than that. It's just it's extra.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love this word you used. You said, find out the expectations and then deliver them. But, I want to tell you something. I think some leaders fail to set up expectations. I was talking with a gentleman one time, and I was actually complaining about an employee. And you know what this gentleman said to me? His name is Don Carroll. He says to me, Nicole, the employee is not the problem. You're the problem. You have to lay out expectations. And then he said this, Brad. He said, uncommunicated expectations are a premeditated opportunity to be disappointed.
Wow. Okay. See, you're going deep now. I see
You
you
said
going.
you wanted to go
You're
deep. Here we
going deep.
go.
Now, couldn't you also say though, it's what role are you in? You're the boss. You're the employee. What role are you in?
Yeah.
If you know your role, that's you. That's your job to know the expectation. And I think that's reasonable. You can put it on the boss. I got it. I take responsibility if that's my role. But if I'm the employee and I didn't understand it and I underdelivered and I'm looking for a raise, whose fault was it? Maybe the guy next to you didn't clarify the expectations. You were the smart one to go clarify. And that's how you got a little extra. And that's how you advance, I think. So why not do it on purpose? You got to be there from usually 9 to 5 anyway. Do it intentionally,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah. So I think it's 100%, 100%, not 50-50, but like the boss, the
I was going to
leader.
say 200 is what you were going for, but it's 100. Okay,
It's
got
a
it.
hundred to hundred. Well,
I
you know how
got it. I
people
got it.
say, if he does his part, I'll do my part. That whole
Yeah.
thing. So that's like a 50-50. I have a belief that it's 100 to 100. So the leader needs to bring themselves 100% to the task of onboarding the new employee, setting those expectations, and then, buddy, now it's game on, right? So, like you're saying, that employee has to bring 100% of what they're capable of doing.
And if you're competing against 110, I think that's the extra. How
Yeah.
do you, here's my point though. You're saying 100.
Yeah.
How do you stand out?
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. I don't think people bring 100%. I think a lot of people are operating at like 70 to your point.
Have
Uh
you not
and if
though?
you bring
Hang on,
100,
hang on, hang
then
on.
you're 100.
Right, but I know days I've brought my 70, right?
Oh
Isn't
yeah,
that
we
the
all do.
hardest? Right, that's the hardest part. How do you stay at the 100 and then say, "Oh, give me some extra credit. Like give me two more." It's not easy, right? You have to set yourself up. We were talking discussion points and things before,
Mhm.
and it's like setting your day up. You were going to ask me a couple questions like that, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
isn't that setting yourself up not to drop, not to come in at a 7, build yourself up to that 10, that 100? That's your
100%.
job to do it at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, yeah, you got to set your day in place. That is absolutely correct. And one of the things that I do is I work with a ton of leaders. So I try to get them to do their 100%. And then we do lots of training. My company is Vibrant Culture. And I help people get things in place so that people can bring themselves 100%. I concentrate a lot, though, on helping the leaders first. You know, the leaders have to go first, they have to set the tone. What's your definition of leadership? I know that you're working in the business. I'm clear now that you have a boss, but you're actually leading a group of people, and it involves your wife and your two boys, which I love that
Both,
story.
yeah, they're working with me as well. Yeah, leadership, right?
Yeah,
You could summarize it as an example. I think that would be
yeah.
understated. An example, you should be an example, but it's understated.
Hmm.
Why? Because there's a point of being an example, but then making that, what's the right word I'll use? Making it last, right? Showing it might be the better word to use. In other words, what I'm saying is you're an example at first, right?
Right.
But then there's a point where you start doing things, they're noticing things you don't know they're noticing, right? So you have to develop the right habits as a leader
Hmm.
so people start, I don't want to say start seeing them because it's not why you're doing them. You're doing them because you know that's the right way to get there, the right way you've been trained. But people pick up on bad habits and good habits. Like if I'm swearing around a baby, sooner or later the baby might start swearing. That's not a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
Those are so leadership, right? That's the example. It's it's the example when you don't know they're looking, and it's the retention with them, right? Can't exclude retention, and I think that I didn't understand that in the business. Been in the business 30 years, boss, hiring people. I didn't understand retention. How do you keep someone?
Yeah.
Not as hard to get someone.
Yeah. We call that now employee engagement.
Employee engagement.
That's what we
It's
call it.
retention, yeah,
Yeah.
and making them want to stay, making a client want to do business with you. Not much different.
Yeah. Well, I love your definition of leadership. It is a
It was a
classic.
little scattered, but we got there.
Yeah. Well, you said it right out of the gate. You said, it's an example. And the old adage is lead by example. And I think that is absolutely 100% correct.
I'm
If
gonna
you want to, if you want people to do good work, you better be doing good work.
give you a great example of why I answered that way. Is
Okay.
when someone's not looking, right?
Hmm.
Well, this was weeks ago, months ago. I had my Bible out on my desk. I don't have my Bible on my desk all the time. I go downstairs a couple days later. My son's Bible's on his desk.
Oh,
It isn't. There's the example when I didn't know he's watching, and isn't that the where you want him to lean first in his day, right? So in our
absolutely.
world, yeah, that was what said it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
When they're not watching,
yeah, and if you ran your business just based on the book of Proverbs, you'd be in great shape, right?
yeah, right.
So that's
I would agree
fantastic.
with that.
That's fantastic. All right, so we are on local biz now. I'm sitting here talking with the amazing Brad Roach, who is working with Element Home Loans. He's also a business consultant, and we are going to come right back in just a moment. I know that you're missing Joe, but the show is pretty awesome without him right now. I'm just saying. He's with his mama, everybody. He's down in Florida
You
taking
think
care of
he's
mom today.
listening now, though? You do.
He's
He's
probably
listening.
listening. We do love you, but we're having a good time without you. I'm just saying. This is local biz now. The much more darling substitute for Joe. It's Nicole Greer with Vibrant Culture here. And I've got my new buddy, Brad Roach with Element Home Loans. We're talking a little bit about leadership and business today, of course. And we were talking about his definition of leadership. And so my company is called Vibrant Culture. And so I think vibrant means a company full of people that know where they're going, think they have a bright future, and are happy doing some work that matters. So, what's your definition of culture?
Hmm. See, that's loaded, right? People throw that I think term around light. It's culture. The word is light. It's retention. I'll use that word again, right?
Yeah,
Keeping
do it.
people there. But a lot more than the overall pictures. It's the everyday little things that add up to why someone wants to be there and grind it out. This morning we're playing loud music that's fun and exciting and ready to get going on purpose. Why? Because not only they need it, I probably did too.
Yeah.
And so culture I think about our day, the music in the morning that was a little louder than it should be, but everybody's getting in there, getting the groove on, right? And it's time, let's go. It's Monday. And then I think about lunchtime when we're sharing some table time together. And yeah, it makes it more pleasant. And you celebrate wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many
Absolutely.
times, like as a loan officer, and an average, right? someone will call in for a mortgage. 60% of the time, you're told no. I'm going to use someone else. Don't want to do it. 40% you get the business. That's some stats that are out there.
Hmm.
Well, that's a lot of no's. That's a lot of negativity, right?
Yeah, if you
So
don't
when you
have that bolstered up, you're going to be in trouble.
right, so it's a constant punch to the head if you're not starting the day right and really saying, okay, did I win this one? And dinging the bell a little bit. It reminds me, it's like every office should have that bartender bell. Ding it when you get the good tip. It's okay, celebrate. Life
It,
is good.
yeah, that's awesome.
Small things, right?
Yeah, that's
Culture
great.
makes up small things.
Right, I agree. And so don't miss what he just said. He said it's about how you talk to each other, and that dovetails with what you said when we opened up the show. You said, if you're using a bad word, you're setting the example for your child, right? So it's like about the words we use. I also like your thing about, you had your Bible on your desk, your son had his on his desk. So it is about what we believe too, and it may not be a religious thing. It's like, what do we believe about the market? What do we believe about our talents? What do we believe about our future? Beliefs are a huge part of the culture, and we have to kind of determine. Leaders need to determine this is what we believe about the work we're doing, right? So mortgages, right? This is I got to get a loan, I got to buy this house, but we're putting people in their dream home.
Yeah, I would agree. Going, I'm focusing on the work side of it because versus the mortgage side, it's hard. It's hard for people to stay motivated. It's hard to stay wanting to have a good culture. Like, where do you want to work? Do you like working there? If you're the guy in charge of that shift, how's it look? Is it
Right.
is it organized? Like I expect clean desks. Well, can mine be messy? No, you have to set that example. But again, it's all coming around circles. Like, but what are
Isn't
the
it?
things you're doing when they're not looking, or they might have been that are noticeable? When you take on a project, are you excelling as the guy in charge or gal in charge at getting it done ahead of schedule and saying, "I got you. Here we go. Come with me." There's a different way to show up, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would say the leader really has to be intentional about setting that
Every
culture.
day,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's the struggle. You want to
Yes.
put a heart, you can say it, right? You can say that so easy. You be intentional every day. You got this, man. Yeah,
You're
okay.
right.
Let me be intentional. Add a 10 or 100, whatever we were calling it. Intentionally every day, no sloppy. Okay, got it. That's not easy.
No,
Well,
no.
that's your habits that's what I meant by starting your day, right? How are you starting it?
Yeah. Well, I have a little coaching methodology that I put together after many years of taking all these coaching programs and getting a degree and doing all these things. I was like, I'm going to put together my own philosophy, and it's shine, vibrant shine. And the first part of it is this idea that leaders need to self assess. They got to turn the mirror inward because they set the tone. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And so, the thing that I often ask people when I'm coaching them, and you could put this question in your pocket, Brad, if you want it. But I got taught this by Kathleen, who was a professor at Queen's University. She said, this is the first question you always ask a coaching client. What is it like to experience you?
Yeah.
Isn't that good? That's
Yeah.
so dang good.
What's it look like when you show up in that room? You
Right.
you want to be one of the guys that was looking forward to you showing up, right?
A hundred
Says a
percent.
lot. Are you the quiet little nerd that walked in and you're not bringing a light you had?
Right.
Why do that? Why hold back, right? There was a saying my dad used to have. He has it on an index card.
And your dad
He
was in the
started
mortgage
me in the
business too,
business. Yeah,
right?
that's how I got into this. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he had a lot of index cards. He would put thoughts on it. And one of them said, and I had to think about it for a minute, don't be a beach ball underwater. Like you're holding it back. Like let that go and burst up,
Yeah.
right? And it's like that stuck with me. But when you walk in a room, act like the host. That's the best advice I'd give somebody, especially because
Mm.
most of us, um, I'll speak for myself. I'd rather go stand in the corner a lot of the times, and maybe just observe or take it easier. And that doesn't help a lot of business and leadership, right? So if you act like the host, it seems to be a lot easier to, can I get you something to drink? Did you see they had drinks over here? It's easier to get involved.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say that we got greeted the most wonderful greeting by our producer today, did we not?
I would agree.
Within 5 seconds, can we get y'all anything, right? So, Joe, this is a great place. Thanks for having us here today. We love it. All right, so that first thing you said, act like the host, and I will tell you, hospitality, it's a thing. It's a total thing, right? So the next thing,
Well, let's stop there. Okay,
okay,
hospitality's a thing.
It's a
right.
total thing.
But is there a point where people's expectations? This is kind of a twisted way to ask this, right? But where's expectations on hospitality in the normal world, right? I
Oh,
think
I've got some.
I've used the word, some do, right? But you're in a different position. You're preaching some of this stuff. I'm saying it to other people like this, but right. But will most of America, most consumers in your business settle for warm soup? In other words, it's supposed to be hot, and you know it, and I know it, and that's the way I want it.
I want
Well,
steam coming off of
yeah,
it.
will you settle for warm? And most do. So how hard is it to deliver above expectations, not only like we were talking in the workplace, but even to
Hmm.
a client? That's a huge piece. So I'll give you an example in the mortgage process. I think it's something small, but it's you've bought a house before, right?
Of course.
Okay, they buy a house. It's their first time. They're getting ready. They're all excited. They've looked at three or four. They make the offer. It finally gets accepted. We get a bunch of paperwork together and say, sign all this stuff. And we send out a postcard, though, of the picture of the new house saying, congratulations, this is it. That
Yeah.
goes on the fridge. Now,
Right. It's
does that
frameable.
doesn't take much?
No.
Did they expect it? No. They expected more paperwork in the process. But when you can deliver just a little bit that says, I actually give a rip, I care, expectation is it changes. Their perception changes. It's almost to a wow.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I have a little phrase. I say, what are we doing to surprise and delight people? That's kind of how I say it to
Imagine
folks.
everybody doing that in a marriage. How many divorces you'd have, right?
Right. That
Surprise and
we could
delight in
shift
your
it.
marriage.
Yeah, we could
You
shift
go a
it the
lot
other
easier.
direction. Yeah. So self-assessment. Yeah. So I love that. And so I think we're dipping into the H in my Shine coaching methodology, which is habit work. So everybody write that down. If you're listening, take notes today. We're laying down some really good stuff. Brad Roach, who is with Element Home Loans, and myself, Nicole Greer, with Vibrant Culture. We're talking about the Shine coaching methodology. And so habit work is huge. So I tell leaders all the time, surprise and delight your employees. Talk about retention. Surprise and delight your wife. Stay married. Keep the business, right?
Yep.
And then of course, there's other habits that we need to put in place. And hospitality, I think, is like greeting people. That's a minimum thing for
Sure.
me. Making eye contact with people, saying please, thank you, and you're welcome. My grandma Myrtle Clary Catherine Charlotte Wood Capale trained me very well. So, what are some habits that you think are like you got to do them, folks? This has got to happen in your business.
Habits in your business. Well,
Yeah.
right. If I go right to business, we would completely miss the whole thing, right?
Okay. Back up the train then.
Because it's going to start with you getting out your butt out of bed. You got to have habits in place you remember how I said it's so hard for anybody, including me, to hit a 10 every day or even get to that point. Okay, well, how you get up and start that makes a huge
Mm-hmm.
difference, right? So, and does it work in your marriage? Does it work at business? Yeah, all of the above. So habits in my business. I get up, I do it's a regular system, right? I have my coffee. I have a chair I sit in. I read into the word. I read the word with my wife. I go work out. I get ready for work. I'm there by 9:30 and off and running, and I've got tasks there that are habits, right? And on Monday, I have a certain similar workout. I would call it that. I call it a theme day. Like if you would say, today's I'm going to the gym. It's arm day, back day, leg day, chest day, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's at work? On Mondays, I work on regular partners that refer me business all the time. I pay attention to that department in my business. Well, on
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, I pay special attention to clients in my business. I would call that a department in my store, right? On Wednesday, I'm going to pay better attention to client leads that have not applied yet. So a different part of the clientele. Each one has a different focus that then if you put any, you've heard it. You put a little focus on it, you're going to do better with it.
That's right. What gets
Doesn't take
measured,
much.
what gets measured gets worked on.
Well,
Absolutely.
then
And
do it intentional, right? There's the word you used earlier.
yeah, 100%. And so basically what I think you just said is you need to use your calendar. That is a great
100%.
habit. Yeah. People don't have their calendar under control, and you control the calendar and things will be much
It's because
better.
they copy. Here's what I've learned.
Yeah.
People, you'll hear time management, time blocking, theme days, scheduling.
Yep. That
What
all works.
it all does work for who? Different people do it differently, right? So time blocking might work for Joe, which I think is great, and but it might not work for Brad. But a whole morning session of what I'm focused on might work. You can you have to fit all these good successes about calendaring in your system of how you run.
That's right. You get to choose. You stand in choice. This is Local Biz Now will be back with my Shine coaching methodology with my fellow business coach, Brad Roach, who is at Element Home Loans. And we've been running through this Shine coaching methodology. So we talked about self assessment, we talked about habit work, and now we're going to talk about a subject that people kind of take lightly, but I think it's almost the most important thing: integrity. I've said this many times before that. If I had a whole room full of people and I said, "Are you men and women of integrity?" They would all raise their hands. And I would say, well, here's the deal: integrity comes and goes. Just like you were saying, being at a 10 every day, being pumped full percent, going in, making it happen. You got to be so intentional about being in integrity. I think people get hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Halt. you
I
know,
would agree. I didn't know that one. Okay.
yeah, and so integrity is huge. So how do you keep integrity in your business? And because I know there are people out there doing all sorts of things. I was telling you before we got started that I have my real estate license, and I sit through all of that continuing ed, and they tell me all these horrific stories of how people are out of integrity.
The simple answer I had was, hey, you're going to do, if you want to do a lot in this business, one deal's never worth it, right? That's your integrity of doing the right thing in the mortgage business. But in integrity, it's a loose word. I go back to, it's when someone's not watching. It's someone.
Yeah,
The
100%.
example is, you can go buy the newspaper where they used to get. They might not even do that anymore. I'm not even that old, but remember where you go put 50 cents in and get your newspaper, and you had to grab one. You
Yeah,
could grab two if you wanted all those coupons, extra coupons. You grab three. Nobody's watching. What are you doing when nobody's watching?
right.
And here's what I cliche it, right?
Hmm.
It's priceless, because even if your business fails, you kept your integrity, your character, who you are, how you built it, and you can make mistakes. It's hard to correct integrity in your next business, right? Have the trust of people who are around you, who watched you and saw you. So that to me would last. That lasts past the 401k that you might need to borrow if the business doesn't go well. And
Hmm.
I'd rather have that in an empty 401k, because you can start that next business. It might be the one that might have been the training ground. So why does integrity come into question? Desperation, anger, a lot of the words you use,
Yeah,
halt, right?
yeah.
That's because you get a little more intensity there.
Right. And the word hungry, in halt, it could mean that you're literally need something to eat, but it could also mean you're a little greedy, want too much too
That's how I
fast.
thought of it. Yeah,
Yeah, all those kind of things,
you
right?
cutting corners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So I think integrity is huge, and you use the word character. So let's just go there for a hot second.
What's the difference?
Well, I think that integrity is I'm 100% whole. Like I will admit, I'm not always in integrity, because sometimes I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and I'm a human. But if you work on the quality of your character, and that dovetails back to habit work, where you were saying you have kind of your morning routine, where you have your, there's Hal Higdon wrote a book called The Morning Miracle.
Hmm.
But like I was taught by my mentor, Ann Strutt, to have quiet time in the
Yeah.
morning. And so that's where you kind of get your head in the game. Like you might be sitting there at 6 a.m., hungry, angry, lonely, tired, but if you put some good words in your brain, have some good thoughts, do a little journaling, do those kind of things, it can kind of call you towards integrity and the quality of your character. I've got a list of 48 character traits that people can work on in this program that I do.
Wow.
I know, isn't that a lot?
Right. So that would go exact. I was drifting off listening to you in the last part of the 48 of them that they can work on.
Yeah.
Right, because that's really what you're saying. You have to. It's almost identify the weakness. What's your character? Finding the hole that you need to fill so that that
Yeah, the
weakness
gap.
doesn't overcome your strengths. Right.
Mhm.
So you may not be great at everything. Well, how do you support that?
Yeah.
Building your character
100%.
or flaws, habits, all bad stuff. Smoking cigars too much. Lots of
Yeah.
things come up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe no. Go get the cigar at Burner
At least
Cigars,
4 a week. Anything
Birkdale.
over 4 a week, you might be extreme. But hey, other than that, you're good. And March Madness doesn't count, so you could double that because of There's a lot of rules that go
I
with
think there's a
what
lot of cigar
qualifies.
smoking going on the last couple of weeks. Absolutely, yeah. So this thing about integrity, yeah. Just one more thing I want to kind of say about that. Get your take on it. Is there's you're like, what's the gap? That's really good. So there's four kind of areas that you have character in. One is like wisdom. One is resiliency. One is humanity. And one is courage. I often find that people have like one side of those.
Really power
That's
words, right?
yeah.
Like not one of those is soft.
No, and really it's a balance, right? So how do you be courageous in business but still care about your humanity, your employees, right? And then how do you use your wisdom, but yet still be resilient and a problem solver and a visionary. So it's this whole thing of being in balance, I think, and that's what makes
Sounds
you
like it
integrity.
sounds like a fantastic poster you should have on the
I
wall,
I
right?
have a poster. I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
poster.
See,
Yeah.
and why, right? To create that habit, remind you, puts it in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so integrity is absolutely huge. So the next thing in my showing coaching methodology is what I call next right steps. So, we're post COVID. Nobody saw that thing coming, but I have declared it over in my life. COVID's over. And so we've got to move forward. We got to go back to this idea of casting vision and setting goals. And I think sometimes they don't have that courage character piece. They don't want to think too big. So I often tell people, well, what's a simple next right step? So how do you do goal setting, or how do you teach it when you're working with businesses? How do you do that?
Um, Next right step. That's how you labeled it, and you can
Yeah.
tie that to goal setting. But
Yeah.
but next right step. So think about the mortgage business, right? We were at 3%. You heard of that? Rates were at 3, and half the
Oh
planet's got it
yeah.
right. So
Oh
then
yeah.
then rates go up, and they're going up. What's the right next step? Set goals that I'm gonna close more loans than I did when they were 3. There's next right steps in multiple facets of your life,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you have to focus, because what was the right next step for me at that time? Buckle down, buddy. Don't spend as much. You don't DoorDash as much. You're not going to this place that much.
That's
Honey, we're
right.
staying home and having a
No
picnic
tickets
this
to the
yeah.
concert. We'll turn on the TV, the
Right
radio.
next step at that time, right? That was the right next step at that time. And I
Hmm.
think some of them are small. I had a sidebar here. I had a couple come in and they're trying to figure out to buy an investment property, and she didn't want to, and he kind of does and really does. She doesn't. And really what it came down to is clarity. They didn't have a clear picture of where they were at.
Right. That's the vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how could you plan your next step if you don't know where you're standing? And I say that's a soft way to say it. Okay. But where you're standing in detail, right? Not just where you're in detail. What are the details beneath that? So if I'm going through a budget, what are the details of the budget line to be able to, right? It's the details. It all comes back to that. The little things you're doing for a client. If we put a theme on this, it's coming through. It's details and all the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, 100%. And I love what you're saying about the budget. One of the things that I do when I sit down with clients is oftentimes I'll find that they are in financial trouble, and that they need to do a balance sheet. That's really simple business stuff, but like you need to have your balance sheet right in your business, but also in your personal life.
It's
And
hard.
and that's another thing. We've got this personal life, business life. They're all integrated,
It's
right?
hardware to start, right? Well, you can start where you can control. Some people, I'm not making enough money to fix my budget. Well, you can stop spending, and you can also go physically with like quiet time in the morning, or whether it's working out in the gym, or you can do other things of that whole circle can come around that you start focused on, you start bringing into balance.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so now we're back to balance. So I think there's three themes. It's details, it's balance, and it's the whole thing of like personal and professional being integrated fully. Back to integrity.
You bet.
Look at us,
Yeah.
Brad. I'm
Yeah,
telling
right.
you, Joe, you should be here. We're having an epic time without you. Just saying. All right, we are local biz now, where your business matters.
Did you say that right? Local biz. You got to put
Okay,
something
you
on
do
there.
it. You do it.
Local biz matters. Doesn't he do it something like
Local
that?
biz now.
Local biz now. But he also says matters. Your business matters. It's not in there anywhere. Your business matters. You got to throw it on
All
the
right.
table.
All right. Well, you're doing your Joe impersonation. I'm going to be me. All right. Here we go. We'll be back in just a few moments. Amazing Brad Roach, who is with Element Home
I'm gonna
Loans.
have to keep coming back here. You keep introducing me like that. The amazing. That's nice. Thank
You
you.
like
I
that?
do like that.
Well, I'm trying to make.
Can we replay that?
I'm
No, I'm
I'm
kidding.
trying
All
to
right.
win friends and influence
You're doing
people.
good. You're doing good.
Yeah, so we've been moving through. Both of us are, in our businesses, and we coach people, and we work with people to help them be better at building their business. And so we've been running through my Shine coaching methodology. And so we talked about self assessment, habit work, integrity work, next right step work, and now we're on our final thing, energy. So just real quick, I'll tell you, Brad, I think humans have six energies that they need to pay attention to. They have to give those energies intention and attention. And the first one is like intellectual energy. Like, what do you need to know? Like oftentimes I'm working with people and they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, you need to find out. You need to do your homework. The next energy is emotional energy or emotional intelligence, right? Like, so do you handle yourself well, carry yourself well? The next energy is spiritual energy, and that's not necessarily religious. It's more like go team, seize the day, those kind of things. And then another energy is physical energy. You've been talking about working out. Like if I don't feel good in my body, I'm certainly not going to do good work, at the office. And then there's social energy. Who do you know? Who's in your network? Who are you taking care of? Who's taking care of you? You got to have people. You can't do this thing alone. You can't be a maverick. And the last thing is the energy of money. So if you're going to be in business, you better figure out how to work the money. And we had already been talking about budgets and balance sheets and all sorts of things. So, how do you keep the energy revved up at Element Home Loans? You've got your wife and your
It's
two.
just like, have you seen the market?
I know. I
Hey,
mean, you're fighting it right
yeah,
now.
right. How do you keep the energy up? Small milestones.
Okay,
That's one.
let's hear it.
Small milestones, and you can go mindset milestone. There's lots of things that come to mind. Small celebrations, like you said. Um, all of those are big parts, but it's hard. You someone can tell you to do that, but it's hard. Bringing energy every day is hard. But now go back to what you said. When you walk in the room, how do you see yourself, right?
Right. What's it like to experience you?
Well,
That's
who do
my
you,
question.
I like to hang. I think most people would agree, and I'm not talking about the obnoxious, crazy one, but I'm talking about the one full of energy that lights up a room. You know who I mean? There's people in your life that do that for you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how can you get more of that for you, right? Why would you limit that?
Right. It's the beach ball thing you were talking about, Daddy said,
There's
right?
there's
Like,
a
don't hold back the energy.
Same thing. Yes, very much. There's a part of it has to do with how your day's going, and it's reminding me of that, like building yourself up to be able to do it, right? And if you, the job is, let's say, I'll give you an example. You wake up and you're at that 7. It just isn't. You're not at the 10. Well, what are the things? Whether it's a good black cup of coffee or that special hug from your loved one in the morning, or whatever it is, maybe it's a one of those biscottis that you dip in the coffee. You're something that is a 10 for you, something that might notch it up, right?
Hmm.
And if you have a list of things that notch you up during the day, maybe it's a glass of wine after work, maybe it's putting your feet up on a footstool, small little things, going for a walk with the dog, petting a dog, right?
Hmm.
Lots of little things you can do, but you build it up. So how does that come back to getting energy into the office? If you have ways, even when you're down, that you can build up, bring it on purpose, like whether it's that just simple cup of coffee, that maybe that 10-minute meditating, whatever it is that's
Hmm.
tens for you, I'd call them tens. If you could bring that in every day, then you can perform at a level that more people see that energy around you, right? Because it's contagious. And what if you can't though? Like I've been in a spot, hey, I don't feel like that. I don't want. I'm a 6 today, and I want to go to a 5 and just crawl back. Tell me people don't feel that, right? Sometimes it can't just be me. And it's like, well, how do you snap back? Well, you have to build those up. And if you can't, here's what I learned: if you can't do that for yourself, because sometimes you may not be motivated enough to bring yourself out of that little bit of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can't bring yourself out by yourself. Then get up and go give tens to the people around you. That may be someone at work, might be someone at home, but I know that my wife likes a small piece of dark chocolate, right? That's a 10 for her. I know she likes a little longer hug. That's a 10 for her, right? Someone at work might just be a handwritten note on their desk saying,
Mm.
great job yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Yeah.
bringing it? If you can't do you, do them, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's a great way for leaders to be is to be what I would call a servant leadership. I know you've heard of that concept before.
Yeah.
Robert Greenleaf wrote a book way back in the 70s about servant leadership, and I think that that is a total uh, as I like to say, thing to serve other people. So go give them a 10. Yeah. So I have a little feedback formula. I love your idea of a handwritten note. I think that is a lost art to write a handwritten note. So that's quite lovely. So I'll share with you all a little tip on how to write a handwritten note. So this is a tip. So you say, dear Brad, today when we were on the radio
What's
show,
our relationship first, or is this? Oh, this is just our
we're
relationship.
colleagues.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
we're colleagues.
okay. I didn't know if this was a love note we were writing to someone. I didn't know where you were going with that.
No, I know your wife is listening.
You got very soft, dear Brad. Okay, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I'm listening
Okay,
now.
let me change it. Dear Brad.
There we go. Okay, good. Much better, much better.
Okay, all right. So I'd say, dear Brad, today on the radio show, you showed up with great energy, enthusiasm to meet me and to do this program with excellence. And I think that you're an amazing man of character.
Wow, very
And then
nice.
I'd say vibrantly. That's how
Now
I
I see
sign.
why you came
Vibrantly
in,
and
dear
Nicole.
Brad. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he came in strong with the handwritten note.
Yeah, and I think that people they just don't want to thank you. They want to know, well, what did you see in me? So we're right back to integrity. We're
I
right
love
back
that.
to character traits. Yeah. So that list of 48 character traits, I hand that list out. Go to www.vibrantculture.com. I'll hook you up with that list. But like, if you can catch people, doing things right,
Oh, and then tell him, my goodness. Yeah,
that it
it's a
takes
huge reward.
everybody to attend. And
Yeah,
and here's the thing, energy is contagious.
agree.
You may not be excited. Like I,
Momentum. It builds momentum.
100%. You may not be excited about the what's going on with the Final Four, but if you went to even the team that you weren't rooting for, you went to one of their parties and they were all excited, you would join in.
You bet.
That's
One guy gets hot, the whole everybody starts going. Yeah.
absolutely 100%, 100%. Yeah. So we've been going through the Shine coaching methodology today. We looked at self-assessment, habit work, integrity work, next right step work, and energy work. I bet you there is a listener out there, Brad, who is thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's not over yet, is it?" I mean, I know Brad's got one more or two more nuggets of genius he'd like to lay down.
Share it out there, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, what would be a couple of more tips, things that you do in your coaching business to help right now your fellow mortgage brokers who are dealing with these higher rates for right now? What do you share with them?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. It's interesting. I feel like I'm answering you the same way on every other question you ask, where I'm saying,
That's called consistency.
yeah, but it's encouragement again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a coach, I've realized dealing with top guys, top producers, good self-esteem, want to run, right? You still get knocked. You're still getting knocked around, and there's clarity that you have to build in what does coaching bring? Clarity. You're the bird sitting up in the corner of the room seeing what's going on.
Right.
You can see that you got a different perspective.
Get the
So
bird's eye view.
I want to give them a different perspective, and I think that that is probably one of the harder things for people to do on their own. It is for me if I don't have a coach, and I've had one for years. I can lose perspective. How would you not, right? So someone's there to say, "Did you see it this way? Did you see it that way?" And there's different ways to look at losing a deal, right? That might have prepared you for the next deal, or could have sucked all your time that you couldn't have got the next two deals. You have to have faith in the tasks you're doing if you're doing it diligently, right? If you are um, relentless is the word I would want to use towards what you want, right? And it's not I didn't say ruthless. I said relentless. There's a difference. There is.
Okay.
Ruthless
Well,
seems like you're going to go crazy, go after it.
right.
Relentless is I have a passion for it, and I'm going to take people with me and that will support me and run with me, and I'm going to support them and I'm going to run with them. That's different. And to get up, and if you're not quite there, being able to identify, right? A lot of this, identify it. If you can identify it, man, look at all your principles you laid out. If you can identify it, so that self assessment, the first thing you talked about,
Yeah.
identify, identify, identify. It's almost like an all day thing you got to do. Identify. If you identify and you slow down just a bit, build a little gap, then respond, you're going to run your day a lot better. How many times do we just rush too much? And if you would have slowed it down, you would have done it a hair different. Learn that
Ah,
now, right?
yeah.
Right?
And that
Take
is
2 seconds.
self-assessment. That's reflection. So, one of the things that is so important to understand is that leaders need to do reflection. When they look at it and they research reflection, they say it's the number one tool that a leader can use to improve their performance. It's how
Agree.
did I do yesterday and what do I need to not do again and what do I need to repeat, to your point about being consistent. So I think reflection is absolutely huge.
What do you think of comparing it to peers? Like comparing to peers as your motivation of how you're moving forward.
Well, I would call that a market survey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Market survey.
yeah, so I'm all about checking out what your competitors are doing because you could get left in the dust. Now, you don't want to be ruthless
Right.
with your competitors. You're going to be an upstanding player, but you do want to be relentless to stand out in the crowd.
And I think you can do it in a way that delivers a little, right? If you compare a hair as well, right? Self reflection, but I do think you need to know your competition
100%.
because if they're delivering warm soup, it ain't hard to warm it up just a hair more and
That's right.
deliver a little more excellence. Wow factor, right?
That's right. All right. Everybody, my name is Nicole Greer, and I am with Vibrant Culture, and I've been here all afternoon with the amazing, one more time, amazing Brad.
I'll take it.
Brad Roach, and he's with Element Home Loans. We've been downloading all sorts of genius.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W260.